Did you guys know that there's a huge gap between education and the actual job doing? You know, in 2025, new hire readiness report found that only 38% of hiring managers said that it was easy to find candidates with the skills that they need. On another survey, Career Builder stated that out of 6 out of 10 interviews that they have, within the first 5 minutes, they know that if a candidate is going to move on to the next round or not. There's such a huge gap between the education system and what is expected of you to perform in the role that you are seeking. When you are coming into corporate America, or you're coming into a new career fresh out of college or maybe even a trade, you are finding, some of us are finding it difficult to understand how our organization does the job, if we even have the proper tools and resources, and lastly, if we have the support that is needed for us to actually develop and flourish within that environment. It is honestly sad to say that being hired in today's time does not mean that you are job ready. Like, we can meet all of the qualifications on paper but still lack practical experience. And oftentimes, a job description doesn't even encompass all of the details or the duties that that particular job would want you to measure up to. We have to understand, as businesses are continuing to thrive and AI is now the new market, as well as automation and robotics, to stay ahead of the curve is to understand and equip ourselves with skills that are going to be transferable that AI honestly cannot possess. But we also have to understand that we have, in my opinion, employers losing out on good employees due to the fact that they may have lack of training. And lack of training is should not be mistaken for lack of ability, because just because someone does not know something that is being presented in front of them does not mean that they cannot learn it, does not mean that they're not motivated, or that they don't simply have the skills. They just don't know it. And I have found that in more spaces than I would want to admit to, working in, tech and working for a massive organization that has well over 20,000 employees, the lack of training, almost the understatement of saying that I don't know is literally taken for the lack of ability. But what I find to be ironic is that no one, and I mean from the top down, is even trying to develop their employees. It's like, I find it really, I find it disheartening, because when you work for an employer, it is also their job to develop you and equip you with their applications, with their resources, with what it is that they do day to day, unless you are going into a highly specialized field. You know, the training that I am seeing and that I'm hearing about, just from people that I'm in network groups with, people that I'm in different conferences with, is little to none. Like, onboarding and training are not the same thing. Completing paperwork, looking at QRGs, reading SOPs, it's not the same thing as actually getting to the nitty gritty and then also allowing your employees to have the grace to make the mistake and learn from it. It's we're going to throw you into the water and you figure it out, and that actually hurts new employees confidence. It hurts the organizations because you miss out on quality talent that can also be developed, and then it creates unnecessary stress when there needs to be dedicated protocols for training and development. There has to also be opportunities for individuals who are not even just fresh out of college, but high school students who don't want to go to college and get a trade, or people who are simply coming into the workforce making a career pivot. There has to be opportunities where these individuals can come into the workforce and flourish. And excuse me, because I'm so passionate about this, because it's sad to see that, just for example, in the field that I am in, I am learning about SAP and learning about materials management and even sales and distribution, learning about SAP Ariba. These are things that I am exposed to. And oftentimes, reading job descriptions or reading qualifications, the qualifications are so steep. Like any Gen Z or millennial does not have well over 15 or 20 years of experience coming out into this type of into this type of space, and not even allowing the opportunities for preparation and development takes away from critical assets that can be a contribution to your team or to your company if you allow them the room to fully blossom and to fully grow. And we have to have better training and transitional periods with our people that come on board. We have to have gradual increase instead of throwing so much on someone who's coming into your organization with such fresh eyes. And and this is not to say that they have no clue, but and just saying, okay, now you're on your own. Like, this, with this type of mindset and frame of mind, it's only I only see AI getting increasingly more, empowered. Not necessarily empowered, because that's the wrong word, but I only see AI increasingly becoming the standard for employers, because the you don't have to train it, you just program it. You don't have to well, not necessarily constantly, but you don't have to spend time actually building a rapport with it. You don't have to, you don't have to build relationships that foster collaboration, that fosters ethics and morals and integrity. You don't have to do all of these things. You can just run a code, and the binary 010 is going to do what it needs to do, for the AI to run, and that's it. Like, we are literally taking away from what makes, and for the most of us, because most of us, at least for me, I don't want to work. I do it because I have to, or because I won't be able to live and eat food, unfortunately. But for most of us who are actually getting out, going to work every day, that is not necessarily blue collar, jobs or brick and mortar jobs, to where, you're doing things where you have to literally use your mind. You have to consciously and creatively and strategically and critically think. You don't have enough room to flourish when people and new and employers oftentimes don't really give you the rope to really see yourself grow, or to and I hope that makes sense. But I'm seeing a lot of this, and I'm hoping that something shifts where training should be continuous, especially when new technology and new systems and regulations and processes change. Like the bigger question here is like, are we truly preparing people to succeed, or are we really making headway for AI to come in and really do everything for us? Because I honestly cannot tell the difference. I really cannot.